I liked Ryan for 12 years. I watched him change girlfriends one after another. When everyone thought I could make a womanizer settle down, he blocked me for another girl.
I.
Over a month later, he knelt on one knee in a sea of roses and asked if I could give him another chance. I took out a big red wedding invitation from my bag and handed it to him, smiling. I'm getting married next week. I hope you can come. He sent a message to his childhood friends. Gather at the old place. Tonight, there's something to announce. Jason, who has the best relationship with him, joked, "Oh, so formal. Is the womanizer going to settle down?" This kind of joke wasn't new. Before, Ryan would just laugh and tell him to get lost. But this time, he only said yeah, softly. Still, that small word was like a heavy stone dropping into water, stirring up waves. The once quiet group suddenly burst into noise. What? Am I seeing this right? The scumbags on the shore? Our Vivian finally sees the moon after waiting for the clouds to clear. Let me guess, Ryan hasn't been in a relationship lately, and he doesn't have any ambiguous attachments. The heroine must be Vivian. I said this guy is special. To Vivian, he's never taken girls out to play before. Vivian was taken aback. It's no secret that I like Ryan. Everyone knows I like him, and his feelings for me are obvious and clear. Ryan didn't say anything. It was as if he accepted everyone's teasing. Yes. Over the years, although he changed girlfriends very quickly, I was always his only bottom line. Anyone would think that my waiting has finally paid off. He was the last to arrive at the party. Ryan brought along a shy little girl. She followed behind him, clutching the corner of his clothes tightly with her small, tender hands. Her big eyes scanned the surroundings with lively curiosity, like an innocent little deer accidentally entering human territory. Looked very much like me when I was first brought into the Lin family 12 years ago. The others, who were laughing and playing, suddenly seemed frozen, staring blankly at Ryan. He pulled someone out from behind him and held her in his arms. "Let me introduce you my girlfriend, Lily." His eyes stayed on Lily, with a tender look between his eyebrows. Maybe feeling the awkward atmosphere, Lily shrank into Ryan's arms, looking a little nervous. Jason was the first to react. He laughed exaggeratedly. "Wow, you're hiding it well. When did you get a girlfriend?" He looked at me often. While speaking, though he tried to hide it, I could see his worry immediately. After knowing each other for so many years, Ryan has been wandering from girl to girl, changing girlfriends often. But he's never officially introduced us to each. We both understood what his actions meant. Ryan rubbed Lily's hair lovingly and said with a smile, "We've been together for more than 2 months. Don't scare her." 12 years ago, it was the same group of people and the same words, "Vivian is shy, don't scare her." At that time, I had just been taken back to the Lin family. A high-ranking family in the imperial city, from a small village in the south. I was ostracized and laughed at because of my poor Mandarin. It was Ryan who took my hand and brought me into their circle. I was just 14 then. So that boy, with his bright smile, helped me dispel my confusion and panic. He became my light. And I was the one believed to have a blossoming relationship with Ryan. Everyone was afraid I'd feel bad. So their reactions were also indifferent. The scene fell silent for a while. Lily bit her lip, her eyes slightly red. She shook Ryan's arm helplessly and asked in a crying voice, "Ryan, is Lily not welcome?" I frowned a little when I heard her call. It made me feel a bit uncomfortable physically. When Ryan was a teenager, he often played with me hiding behind me, attacking me, snatching things from my hands, or pulling the leather string that tied my hair up high, making me call him brother.
Ow.
He wouldn't give things back until my face turned red and I called him brother unwillingly. Back then, he was still immature and would be disgusted by other girls' coquettishness. Ryan was about to comfort her when suddenly a glass shattered in the corner. It was Alex, who always had a bad relationship with me. His handsome face was stern, and his voice was full of anger. "Ryan, what the hell have you been thinking about Vivian all these years?" Ryan's face also darkened. He looked around, finally locking his eyes on me. Then he parted his thin lips and said, "I don't know if you misunderstand something. I've always only thought of Vivian as a sister." "Dad!" "What a great sentence. You only treat me as your sister." I don't know if he's forgotten that last year, during the New Year, Jason bought firecrackers and asked him to set them off. Ryan sat lazily beside me, smiling. No, I want to accompany our Vivian. Someone next to him started making noise. When did Vivian become yours? Ryan threw a tangerine over and laughed even more happily. Oh, his Vivian is my little bride. Just half a year he could look me straight in the eye and say frankly that I was his sister. I pressed my hand gently on my heart. It hurt and felt uncomfortable, but not as badly as I had imagined. On the contrary, I felt a kind of relief finally. I got the answer I was waiting for. It was like when I was 14, sending a novel I thought was very good to my favorite magazine. I waited a long time without a reply. Then 12 years later, the magazine finally sent a reply, saying my novel wasn't accepted. I calmly thought, oh, I knew it. Turns out the passion and longing I had at the beginning had worn away. During the long wait, the same was true for my feelings toward Ryan. It's not that I don't love him anymore. I just don't expect anything from him anymore. So, the outcome didn't affect my emotions much. Alex wanted to speak up for me again, but I stopped him. He gritted his teeth, rolled his eyes at me, cursed, useless thing, and slammed the door as he left. It didn't seem right for me to stay in this situation any longer, so I grabbed my bag and followed him out. As soon as I put my hand on the door handle, Ryan called out, "Vivian, come back." I turned around and smiled at him. "Brother, you guys play first. I'll go see Alex." That was the first time in so many years I called him brother. So happily, but it was clear he didn't look happy about it. Ryan was stunned, then repeated with a gloomy face, "Come back." This time, I didn't listen to him. I pushed the door open and walked out. I heard the clattering of wine glasses breaking again. The door closed behind me, sealing off the noise from inside. Going to Alex was just an excuse to leave. Even though he helped me, I still clearly remember what he did to me back in school. He threw a ball at me during gym class and secretly cut my braids with scissors in art class. He also hid my textbooks and put caterpillars in my desk. Gratitude is one thing. I would give him appropriate gifts as a thank you, but I can't rush to fix our relationship. I wanted to go home, but as I reached the door, I saw Alex leaning against the wall, smoking. When he saw me, he put out his cigarette and flicked it into the trash can. "I took Jason's car to come here. Are you going back now?" he asked. "Can you give me a ride?" I sighed but didn't say no. After 12 years of playing together, this was one of the few times I was alone with Alex. I hadn't even sent him to his house yet. He sat there without moving. After a long pause, he slowly said, "Lily is very similar to you in the past. But so what? Even if she's similar, she's not me, and I'm not her." I didn't want to continue this topic, so I simply opened the car door and drove him away, ignoring his angry shouting. I stepped on the accelerator and turned into the villa next door. Our house is right next to Alex's, and beyond that is Ryan's house. People who live here are either rich or noble. Just after I parked the car, Alex called me and asked me to check WeChat. I opened it and saw red envelopes flying all over the group chat. Ryan had pulled Lily in, and several people were sending her greeting gifts. I also sent a red envelope. As soon as I did, I was kicked out of the group by Ryan. The next second, his private message came. "Sorry, Vivian. Your presence makes Lily uncomfortable. Let's not contact each other for now." I pursed my lips tightly. My fingers couldn't stop trembling. After thinking about it, I still replied with an okay. But after I sent it, I saw a bright red exclamation mark. Ryan had deleted me. From the green years to the scorching youth 12 years of knowing and growing up together, and in the end, they still lost to his love. I stared at the exclamation mark for a long time, my eyes sore, but I couldn't cry. My head and smile saying, "Vivian, besides my parents, no one in this world is more important than you." I like Ryan, but I've never been obsessed with him, nor crossed any lines. I've never said or done anything ambiguous toward him. Every time I found out he had a girlfriend, I would keep my distance. I was afraid my love would become a burden to him. But often, if I pulled away, he'd be dissatisfied. His first love was with my college roommate, a girl who knew all my feelings for Ryan. Later, the two of them appeared in front of me hand in hand, and the girl smiled brightly. It seemed she had forgotten all her girlish thoughts. I had shared everything with her and thanked me sincerely. Vivian, thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to chase Ryan. That day was very windy, and I was standing straight on the tree-lined path outside the library feeling like an idiot. At that moment, I realized she had approached me and befriended me from the beginning just for Ryan. I kept my distance from her and Ryan, and as a result, our love only lasted 3 days. The girl cried in the dormitory, and after crying enough, she looked at me with swollen eyes and asked, "Ryan dumped me. Are you satisfied now?" I felt very confused. I had never done anything, so why was she asking me? But out of politeness, I still answered her, "Yes, I am satisfied." She was grateful and sincere. One night, Ryan dragged me out for a big meal. He teased me with a playful smile. "Little ancestor, you haven't paid much attention to me these past 3 days. Don't be angry, okay?" I explained seriously, "I'm not angry. It's just that you're in a relationship, and we should keep a proper distance. Good for everyone." But I agreed to try it with her, because I saw that he had a good relationship with her. What Vivian likes, I like. What Vivian doesn't like, I don't like either, he said confidently. Later, when he fell in love again, he would avoid all girls who had any connection to me. He wouldn't even bring them out publicly. But the upper-class circle in Beijing isn't small, yet it's not big either. It's common for him to run into acquaintances when he takes his girlfriend out. So, even if he doesn't say it, his love affairs spread to me through others. During annual gatherings, someone would tease him. "Ryan has so many girlfriends. When will he bring one to meet us?" He put the peeled shrimp into a small bowl in front of me and replied casually, "Not to that extent yet." Several people had added me some begging, some scolding all, trying to get me to stay away from Ryan, after so many times. I understood that even if I did nothing, just my existence was like an original sin. Ryan wanted to break up with me for Lily's sake, and I respected his decision, but I didn't understand why he kicked me out. I wasn't the only one in the group. There were also close friends who had been with me for 12 years. My phone kept ringing one after another. I hung up and replied to each message, telling them I was fine and asking them not to worry. When you're on the verge of an emotional breakdown, you can't handle the tension well. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to hold back my tears. More than an hour later, Jason showed up at our house with a face full of bruises. He slumped onto the sofa, took the ice pack I handed him, and pressed it on his swollen area. "What happened?" I asked. "Why I caused a fuss in public and got beaten up. Went to break up the fight and got hit a few times." I asked, "Where are they?" He moved the ice pack to a different spot, maybe pressing too hard, which made him grimace in pain. After a moment, he said, "Send Ryan to the hospital." I pursed my lips but didn't say anything. A few minutes later, Jason asked me cautiously. "Vivian, Ryan was just confused for a moment. We can all see how much Lily looks like you when she turns around. Can you give him another chance?" The sentence he didn't finish should also express how much Lily resembles my past self. I furrowed my brow slightly and didn't answer his question directly. "Jason, I want to go back to see my grandma. When my mother was pregnant with me, my father's business faced a crisis and nearly went bankrupt. Later, they consulted a feng shui master who said the problem was with my mother's belly. The master claimed I was born with bad luck that would affect my father's fortune. But by then, my mother was over 9 months pregnant and close to her due date. Even if she didn't want to give birth, there was no way around it. So I was sent to my grandmother's house in the south right after I was born. My grandmother named me Vivian, saying I was her only baby. But when I was 14 and she passed away, I wasn't anyone's baby anymore. I used to think Ryan was lucky. Even if I wasn't a baby, I always believed I'd be his first choice. That didn't seem so bad, but reality hit me hard. It was the rainy season, and the misty Guianan was cloaked in a curtain of rain. I held an umbrella and walked along the familiar blue stone path. At the end of the road was an old 3-story building, the house I had lived in for 14 years. My mother often said my grandmother was stubborn. Even though her daughter married into a wealthy family, she stubbornly stayed in the countryside, guarding her simple, shabby house. But it was that stubbornness that gave me the happiest childhood. The rain wasn't heavy, and vendors slowly moved along on tricycles, shouting loudly, Young May, fresh Young May. Woman came out of a small Western-style building nearby, holding an umbrella and calling out to a vendor. Seeing me on the side of the road, she looked surprised. Vivian, why are you back? It's not even the day of the sacrifice yet. My eyes were red and I forced a smile. I miss home, so I came back to stay for a few days. She glanced at the suitcase I was carrying, a trace of pity flickering in her eyes. Kid, why'd you come back alone? Your grandma's old house has been uninhabited for a long time and it's rained these past 2 days, so it must be very damp. Why don't you stay at our place first? Your brother Ethan isn't home all year round, and you can just keep me company. She reached out, grabbed my suitcase, took my hand, and happily led me toward the Western-style building behind her. I was arranged to stay in Ethan's room, watching Auntie busy around. I deeply understood what it meant to be unable to refuse a kind invitation. I said no several times, but she finally asked with a bit of grievance, "Do you think our house is too shabby?" I compromised. Ethan's room was very clean and simple. The most eye-catching thing was a large bookcase filled with books, models, trophies, and certificates, layered neatly. It reflected his personality perfectly.
No.
Ethan, who was 2 years older than me, and I weren't very familiar, but we weren't strangers either. Besides growing up together, we were also college alumni. He was recommended to a top university in the country, but I took advantage of the local haku. That evening, Alex called me over the microphone. His voice sounded muffled. Jason said, "You went back to the South?" I nodded, thinking he couldn't see me, so I just said, After a while I heard him mumble, "Why didn't you tell me? I would have come with you. I could." Guess how Alex felt about me after going through the awkward years of adolescence? I refused immediately, without hesitation. "No, you should work hard. Be careful out there. I'll take care of my own things and pick you up in 2 days." Before I could say anything else, he hung up. It rained all night, but unexpectedly, the next day cleared up. I wanted to visit my grandmother's grave. I opened the door and bumped into Ethan, who was covered in dust. A breeze blew in, carrying the scent of soil, and it lifted the hem of his shirt. Over the years, he had grown from a young man with a graceful figure into a handsome man. Ethan looked a little startled, and his eyes were filled with emotion I couldn't quite understand. "Long time no see," he said, his voice low and gentle, just like I remembered. I smiled at him. "Long time no see," I echoed. Since the owner of the house had returned, I naturally had no reason to keep living there. I said goodbye to Aunt Lee. She frowned and paused, then said, "You're still so young, and I worry about you living alone. How about this Ethan can move in with you?" I was about to refuse, but Ethan took the lead. "Okay, I'll go back with you to clean up later," he said. Under Aunt Lee's eager gaze, I could only nod in agreement. The house had been empty for a long time, but I paid someone to inspect and repair it every year. Aside from a little dust, it wasn't in bad shape. After tidying up, I sat on the steps outside and let my mind drift. The sky washed clean by. The rain was bright and clear. Big white clouds floated across the blue sky, a rare scene in Beijing, where haze is often heavy. Ethan handed me a bottle of water, and I looked up, smiling at him. "Why did you come back suddenly?" I asked. He also smiled softly. "I was tricked back by my mother," he said. "And you?" I asked. There's no doubt Ethan is good-looking, so warm sunlight sprinkled over him, making him look as if he had a layer of golden powder on his skin.
Nice.
Behind his thin lenses. His eyes, slightly narrowed and resembling peach blossoms, held a hint of wildness mixed with kindness. I looked away, took a moment, and chose my words carefully. Life in the countryside moved slowly, and I gradually adapted to its polite, courteous rhythm. Ethan was a very considerate roommate. Fearing I might get bored, he brought over several extracurricular books for me to read. Even more surprisingly, he somehow found a puppy that looked a lot like the one my grandmother used to raise. I squatted down and hugged the puppy. Tears I'd been holding back finally spilled out uncontrollably. Ethan stood silently nearby until I cried enough, then bent down and gently rubbed the top of my head. "Did Vivian get wronged?" he asked softly. That familiar question stirred many buried memories. When I was young, I was often teased by The village children called a wild child, or worse, a bastard. I would secretly cry alone, hiding in shame. Ethan would find me, gently ask, "Did Vivian get wronged?" Gradually, fewer people bullied me. It wasn't until I saw Ethan beat up the boy who threw stones at me in a dead-end alley that I understood why it seemed we were always close. But later we drifted apart. Why did that happen? A few days later, Jason sent me a short video. Ryan was holding a bottle of wine, slumped on the ground, repeatedly calling out my name, Vivian, Vivian. Next to him, Lily bit her lower lip tightly, tears streaming down her face. Below the video, there were two messages. "Vivian, when will you come back? Ryan drank too much and keeps asking to see you. Now he's drunk in Yunhai and we can't do anything about him." Yunhai is the old place Ryan mentioned last time, the top club in Beijing, one of his family's businesses. Ryan rarely drinks, but whenever he does, it's usually at social events. Every time he drinks too much, I always have to go pick him up before he's willing to follow me. It's these small things that made me like him for 12 years, maybe, because I saw hope in holding on that long. I replied simply, "Don't tell me about him anymore." Just after I sent the message, Jason called. I thought about it and decided to answer because it wasn't his fault, and I had no reason to take out my anger on him. "Hello, Vivian." Jason's voice sounded worried. "Ryan hasn't been doing well these past 2 days." Before he finished speaking, I heard loud shouting. "Ryan, don't move. Don't grab my phone." Ryan's voice then came through the microphone beside my ear. "Hello, hello, hello, Vivian? Is that you? When are you coming to pick me up? Well, I was in the hospital 2 days ago, and you didn't come to see me. I haven't seen you in a long time." His voice grew smaller, like he was choking on his own words, muffled by haze. "Vivian, I miss you," he said softly. Without thinking, I hung up. Later that night, Lily sent me a friend request, saying she had something to show me. I wasn't interested in what she wanted to share, but she kept insisting. After sending more than 20 friend requests, I finally accepted. She sent me a picture, her lying on a big bed in a hotel, her loose black hair framing her face like a seductive fairy. Ryan was lying next to her. She texted, "Vivian, Ryan, and I know you like him too, but Ryan only has family affection and habits for you. He told me himself that he only loves me. Tonight he's jealous because I talked to other guys, so he drank and came to you. I hope you don't misunderstand." I looked at her long string of words and felt bored. It seemed that letting go of a 12-year relationship wasn't such a big deal after all. I replied calmly, "Oh, I wish you happiness." It rained for several days. Ethan liked to brew a pot of tea and sit at the table by the window to write and draw. I lay on the sofa, a book in my arms. The puppy he gave me pudding curled up at my feet quietly. Since I cried in front of him last time, our relationship had improved a lot. Outside the window, the sound of sporadic rain could be heard. Inside, there was the rustling of Ethan's pen on paper, and occasionally I turned the pages of my book. Somehow it reminded me of a phrase: "The present world is stable, and the years are quiet and good." Suddenly, a knock on the door broke the silence. Outside, Ethan's father looked anxious. "Ethan, your mother just fainted. Go back and see her," he said urgently. Ethan paused, hesitated for a moment, then stood up and ran out quickly. I hurriedly slipped on my heels. Aunt Lee had always taken good care of us when Grandma was alive. She helped us a lot. During this time, she kept sending us homemade food. Now and then, Lee was lying on the bed, looking not quite herself. Her expression seemed off. Ethan frowned and asked, "Mom, how are you? Do you want to go to the hospital?" She glanced at me, then inside. I hadn't intended to say anything, but she fumbled under her pillow, pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to Ethan. "I don't have much time left," she whispered. "My biggest wish is to see you get married in my lifetime." The paper revealed she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Ethan's brow furrowed even deeper. He was silent for a long moment, then said, "It might be a misdiagnosis. Go get checked again in 2 days." As days passed, Ethan grew more and more silent. When we were young, he'd find me hiding and crying, and now it was my turn too. Seek him out when he was hiding, smoking. When he saw me, he put out his cigarette and fanned the air in front of him with his hand. I sat down beside him and stayed silent. June was coming to an end, and the weather was getting hot and sticky. Ethan looked up at the sky and said slowly, "I came back this time because my mother said she's sick. When I got home, she sent me away with a joke. I thought she was lying to me, and I didn't know how to comfort him, so I just stayed. Quiet." He hesitated for a moment, then spoke carefully. "Vivian, I don't want her to regret it. Can you help me?" I nodded quickly. "Just tell me if there's anything I can do." Ethan turned to look directly into my eyes with a determination I could feel burning inside him. He said, "Marry me. I can sign a prenuptial agreement with you. I recently applied for a patent for my research project, and I should have a lot of money by then. When we divorce, I can give it all to you, of course. What's yours will still be yours. You can add your requirements and conditions to the agreement." He paused and added, "Marriage isn't a trivial matter. I don't want to agree, but Entley has been so good to me. Can you let me think about it?" He forced a bitter smile, guilt in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Vivian. I'm embarrassed for you." That night, lying in bed and struggling over whether to agree or not, Jason called again. "Vivian, come back soon." "Alex and Ryan are fighting," he said anxiously. I felt helpless. "Fighting? Again?" I asked. Jason's voice grew deeper. "If only it were that simple. Alex has poached 3 clients from Ryan in a row. The profit margins offered are ridiculously loose, hurting both sides. Now they're both in a mess. Vivian, do you know that before you came back, they had the best relationship? Since you returned, they've started to drift apart because of you. Maybe you didn't realize that Alex likes you." I knew by the look in his eyes that he was serious. But I had no way to respond to his feelings, not to mention what he did to me when he was young. He knew me and Ryan too well after so many years. He'd been watching the complicated relationship between Ryan and me. If he and I had any feelings, beyond friendship, it would be like a thorn in his heart. He was a terminally ill elder, and I was a childhood friend crazy about me. It didn't seem hard to decide what to do. I took the initiative to contact Alex for the first time. I could tell how happy he was when he answered the phone. He said, "I should have picked you up 2 days ago, but something happened." I interrupted him. "Alex, don't go on. I hope you're all well. Our relationship with Ryan for so many years shouldn't be so strained because of me. Also, I called to tell you I'm getting married." He paused, then spoke again, with a hoarse voice. "With whom?" I asked. I answered, "A brother who grew up here with me and is also my senior in college. He's very outstanding and treats me very well. Thinking about the days I spent alone with Ethan, it would be nice if we could live together respectfully after we got married." The next day, Ethan had already prepared breakfast. "I'll go back with you to see Auntie." "Later," I said. He gently placed an omelet into my bowl and said softly, "Yes." I continued, "By the way, I discussed the marriage with them." Just then, the omelet Ethan was about to put in his bowl slipped and fell onto the table. Before I was 14, my parents were strangers who only appeared during festivals. After I turned 14, they were family members who only asked if I had enough money. Do they love me? They should love me, it's just that the emotional gap at 14 made them not know how to get close to me.
How Mary.
Every time I saw my mother interacting intimately with my younger brother, who's 5 years younger than me, I would comfort myself by telling myself that it's okay. When my mother learned I was going to get married, she only asked about the man's conditions and then agreed. Ryan and I are recognized as a couple in upper-class circles. But now he's making a fuss over his little girlfriend, even risking conflict with his parents. For a while, I became a laughingstock. Now, a talented young man with good prospects is ready to take over. I think they're eager for me to marry soon. Our wedding was scheduled more than a month later. I originally wanted to keep everything simple, but Ethan disagreed. Said that, although he couldn't give me a luxurious wedding, he still wanted to have what other brides had. Even if our marriage was just an agreement, he wanted it to be special. After returning from Ethan's house, a blue Bugatti stopped at the small building's door. Alex got out. His handsome face, with clear features, looked tired, even with a short stubble on his chin. He looked at Ethan beside me, and then said to me, "Is he the one you want to marry?" I nodded. Alex's face darkened slightly. "Vivian, let's talk." Ethan left the space for us. As Alex watched him walk away, he looked at his back and said quietly, "Why him?" I tilted my head and thought for a moment. I replied, "Maybe he just showed up at the right time. Why him?" "Because Ethan needs this marriage so that his mother won't have any regrets. And I also need this marriage to help him and to block Alex's thoughts." Alex suddenly became very excited, turned around, grabbed my shoulders, and his brown eyes filled with pain. "I don't believe you would fall in love with someone else so quickly," he said. "It's because Ryan hurt you. You could also choose me. You know I like you." I looked at him calmly. "Alex, we're not suitable. From the beginning, our ending was doomed. Not suitable." I paused. "What about him? Is he suitable?" I was slightly startled, and the scenes of spending time with Ethan these days appeared in my mind. Being with him is simple, but also stable. Ethan doesn't talk much, but every morning when I wake up, the breakfast he made for me is already on the table. He wears an apron that's very mismatched with his temperament, and he smiles and asks me to wash my hands and eat. The little dog wags its tail in circles around him. One person and one dog make up a long-lasting, peaceful kind of happiness. I answered with certainty, "Yes, he's very suitable." After Alex left, I started to get busy. The wedding date was urgent, and there was a lot to prepare. Jason kept sending me messages, all about Ryan. He said Ryan had been drunk, Lily had plotted against him, and she forced him to take responsibility for something big. It was a serious incident and even made the news. I have to admit Lily, who seemed innocent, still had some tricks up her sleeve. She liked to pretend to be pitiful. Public opinion was overwhelmingly in her favor. Ryan basically got drunk every day. When he was drunk, he would yell and shout for me. I didn't reply. Those things had nothing to do with me. Ryan kept trying to contact me, adding me on different numbers, but I blocked them all. Since he kicked me out for Lily, we couldn't even be friends. More than a month later, Ryan. Jason messaged me saying he was in the county and asked to meet me on the busiest street. Before leaving, I grabbed a bunch of invitations and stuffed them into my bag, hoping he could help me take them back and share the workload. Today, the flower beds on both sides of the pedestrian street were filled with big red roses, ribbons, and balloons tied on them. 2 little girls passed by, chattering excitedly. "Wow, which rich young man is going to propose?" one said. "It's so romantic." I heard there's a huge sea of roses in front. They were all airlifted. I saw a small plane this morning. So rich. They hurried off, excited. The crowd surged in the direction where Jason had asked me to meet. I frowned and had a vague guess about what was happening. 2 days ago, Jason told me that Ryan had given Lily a breakup fee of $5 million. Lily saw that she had no hope of marrying into a wealthy family, so she took the money and left. I clutched my backpack strapped tightly and followed the crowd forward. The place filled with roses was just as I expected, the main intersection next to the cafe where we had planned to meet. It was already crowded with people. From time to time, little girls gasped, pointing at the man holding the flowers. "So handsome," one exclaimed. "The ones next to him are so handsome. I like the one on the far right. He looks a little lonely, so special." Jason was standing outside the crowd. When he saw me running over, he quickly pulled me up and pushed his way through, making way. Make way, make way. Our heroine is here. Soon the crowd parted. At the end of the road, Ryan, looking nervous and eager, stood holding a big bunch of Julian roses. Jason let go of my hand and gently pushed me in front of him, smiling. "Vivian," Ryan called out. A blush spread across his handsome face. He bent his right knee and slowly knelt down amid the cheers of the crowd. Behind me, all my childhood friends had bright, happy smiles. Only Alex was leaning lazily against the wall, arms crossed, looking like he was just watching a show. When he saw me, his eyes flickered, and then he looked away. Ryan cleared his throat lightly and handed the flowers to me. "Vivian, I'm sorry. I know what I did was a jerk. After you left, I realized you meant more to me than I ever knew. I just wanted one more chance to make things right." I smiled faintly, took out an invitation from my bag, and handed it to him. I'm getting married next week. Come, Ryan froze. The rose in his hand slipped, and its petals scattered on the ground. He said, Vivian, please don't joke. This isn't funny. I walked past him, giving out more invitations. Don't forget to come to my wedding, I said calmly. Suddenly Ryan jumped up, grabbed the invitations, tore them apart, and threw them down. His eyes turned red. Vivian, stop this. It's not a joke. I didn't think Ryan would react like that. He tore all the invitations from my bag and grabbed my arm, trying to pull me away. Before we could take 2 steps, a punch landed on his face. Ryan stumbled back. Alex stood behind him, furious. They started fighting, and soon we were all taken to the police station. Over an hour later, Ethan came to get us. He pulled me aside and looked relieved when he saw I was okay. He scolded me softly. Next time, stay away when people fight. I suddenly remembered how, as a child, he used to find me crying, then take me to pick wild dates just to cheer me up. He smiled gently and said, I'll pick dates for you. You just stay safe. Behind him, Ryan stood uncertain. Back in college, he didn't like Ethan because I called him brother. People often compared the two, and Ethan always seemed to come out ahead. Ryan asked in a low voice, Are you marrying Vivian? Ethan adjusted his glasses and replied coldly, Yes. Then he turned to me and asked softly, Shall we go? I nodded, and he walked me out of the police station. Ryan tried to come after us, but others stopped him. 2 days later, Ryan bought the house next door. His luxury car stood out in the old neighborhood. He came to me every day, begging for another chance. I finally said, I'm getting married. Stop disturbing me. He bit his lip, his eyes red. Then, slowly, he squatted down and started crying. Vivian, I know I messed up, he said. Please, give me one more chance. You don't love Ethan? Why marry him? But as I watched him cry, I felt nothing. No sadness, no pain. That's when I realized if there's no love, there's no heartbreak. The wedding happened as planned. My mom came a day early. She looked at me in my dress, her eyes red. She hugged me, something she hadn't done in 26 years. I'm sorry I wasn't a good mother, she whispered. I just want you to be safe. I hugged her back and said, I understand. Outside, the wedding cars were lined up. Before getting in, I saw Ryan standing nearby in a new suit. He smiled. I didn't stop. If I had known he would die in a fire that night, maybe I would have made a different choice. Ryan died in a sudden fire. The wedding banquet had just started, and no one noticed until it was too late. When I heard the news, I froze. Then I ran toward the smoke, but I was too late. Even if I didn't love him anymore, I couldn't pretend his death didn't matter. Ethan and I got married, but we were only husband and wife in name. He always treated me with respect. Months later, I went home to take care of Aunt Lee. She looked healthy. Maybe her wish came true. Ethan was busy. One night I stayed in his room. My earring fell under the bed. When I reached under, I found a diary. I opened it. It was about Ethan's feelings for me. At the end, I found his mother's cancer report. It was fake. I had always known. But I played along. Maybe it was my only chance. Ethan and I divorced quietly. I lost love, then walked away from something else. I packed my bag and left. I didn't want to be trapped anymore. 3 years passed. Jason got married. I met Ethan again at the airport in Beijing. He smiled. Vivian, long time no see. I remembered the first time I saw her. Vivian was winter. She wore a thin black dress and had red, swollen eyes. She looked down shyly when I smiled. Unlike the other girls, she felt different. That day, I wanted to go up to her and say, "Hi, I'm Ryan." She looked up and replied, "Hello, I'm Vivian." Her soft voice stayed with me. It liked me, I just didn't know how I felt. We spent every day together from middle school to university. Maybe that's why I couldn't tell when it turned into love. Vivian was quiet, gentle. Her voice always felt real. Other girls came and went, but they weren't her. Even when I dated others, I kept it from her. I didn't want her to turn away from me. but maybe deep down, I was just afraid. She wouldn't come back if I let go. I wondered why I talked so much about this. I just wanted to see if there were others as likable as Vivian. Turns out there weren't. Not until I met Lily. Lily awakened my desire to protect. She looked at me with innocent, timid eyes and obediently called me Ryan. I really liked hearing Vivian call me brother. When she did, her tone rose slightly at the end, with a little hook, very tempting. But she rarely called me brother. Only when I pushed her to the limit would she do so unwillingly. So when I heard her call Ethan brother, I was angry for days. To me, Lily was like Ryan, a 26-year-old man meeting Vivian, who was only 14. I only realized this after I lost Vivian. Yes, I lost Vivian. She left behind Alex calling me brother for the first time and walked away without looking back. The first time I begged her to stay, I was so angry that I shattered everything I could find in the box and even dragged Lily into our group, making things worse. I kicked Vivian out of the group too. Then I lost her.
Oh.
During the 2 days I was in the hospital, I kept staring at the door, afraid Vivian would come back, but she never showed up. Before, she would feel distressed for a long time if I scratched her a little. Back then, I didn't realize how serious things really were, and my pride wouldn't let me apologize first. I miss her. I miss her so much. That was the first time we'd been apart in 12 years. Turns out, being without her is so uncomfortable. I just can't stand it. So I dragged them out drinking with me, foolishly thinking she would come to pick me up when I was drunk. After all, that's how it used to be. But in the end, she still didn't show up. Jason said she went to the south. How could she suddenly appear? I miss her. I want to find her. I want to tell her, Vivian, I like you. When I woke up, Lily was sitting next to me, crying. She said I had ruined her innocence and that I had to take responsibility. But I was just drunk. Not stupid. I knew that 2 days ago I had already broken up with her. I just hadn't told anyone. I didn't expect her to call Lily after I was drunk, or that Lily would plot against me. At first I didn't want to pay attention to her, but then I found out she was seeking sympathy online. I needed to clean up the mess she made. Meanwhile, Alex started stealing my clients in a reckless, suicidal way. I could only delay going to her until I sorted everything out. When I finally did, I ran to beg her for another chance. But I was told she was getting married. It hurt so badly I felt like I was suffocating. Step after step, I made mistake after mistake. I bought the house next door at a high price, blocking her every day, begging her to give me another chance. But no matter how hard I tried, she never looked back. On her wedding day, I stood at the door and watched her get into someone else's wedding car, dressed in white. My Vivian, so beautiful, she should have been my bride. As the car drove away, I covered my chest and curled up on the ground. Losing her really hurt. The pain was unbearable. I didn't go to her wedding because I was afraid I'd lose control and do something crazy. Then she'd blame me. That night I tossed and turned in bed, thinking she must be in the bridal chamber now. My heart felt like it was being eaten by ants. So painful, so numb. Somehow I got up and drank nearly a whole bottle of melatonin. When I was dazed, I saw a red light flickering in front of my eyes and my whole body was burning. But no matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't stand up. It seemed the cigarette I smoked before bed hadn't been fully extinguished. Isn't it said that the living can never beat the dead? Oh, Vivian, will you remember me forever? I haven't told you. Yet I love you. Ethan's chapter. When did I start loving Vivian? It felt like it was the graceful dance she performed on stage at the university welcome party. Her red skirt swayed, full of charm. The silent crybaby who always followed me around had grown into a graceful young woman. During the years I was not involved, after her performance, I went backstage, hoping to catch up with her. But before I could get close, I saw a very handsome boy approaching. He smiled and ruffled her hair. His voice was full of affection. Our Vivian is stunning today, and she must have charmed many people. She rubbed against his palm like a delicate cat, her big eyes full of stars. At that moment, I knew she liked that boy. I wanted to turn around and leave, but she saw me. Brother Ethan, she called softly, with a hint of uncertainty in her sweet voice. When she called me that, the boy's face hardened. He pinched her cheek gently, with a touch of jealousy, and shook it. Vivian, you're really great. It's so hard to get you to call me brother, but now you're calling someone else in front of me. His words sounded teasing, but the hostility in his eyes was clear. I realized her love was mutual, and somehow I should have been happy for her, but instead I felt bitter inside. Later I learned that the boy had been with her for years after she left. His name is Ryan, and he's quite famous. A top second-generation, rich kid. My mother told me Vivian's father was also very wealthy. It was a beautiful story. The heir of a rich family and the talented young lady falling for each other and finally getting married. More than 4 years apart, and yet it was enough to make strangers. The campus was huge, so meeting by chance was rare. But getting news about her was easy. Students from good families, with outstanding looks, always attracted attention. Photos were everywhere on the campus network and confession walls, but most of the time, Ryan was always with her. In the photos, she always smiled softly, warm, and at ease. When she looked at Ryan, her eyes were full of tenderness, like a calm autumn lake. I have to admit now, she carries herself with elegance and confidence. From her enrollment to graduation, I watched her from afar, a secret admirer. Liking wasn't possession. Seeing her happy, I would forget my own feelings. Then I got a call from my mother. She sounded excited. "Son, can you come back now?" "I'm sick." She didn't know that every time she had a physical checkup, the report was sent directly to my phone. Just as I was about to reveal her condition, she told me Vivian was back, living in my room. She also said Vivian seemed to be in a bad mood. I thought for a moment and told her I'd come back immediately. My patent application had been approved, and I was just waiting for the certificate. After investing in the market, my income should be enough to match Vivian's. I packed quickly and rushed back to the small town where I was born and raised. That day, seeing the girl I'd been thinking about standing right in front of me felt like a beautiful dream. I knew my mother wanted to bring us together. After all, I was already 28 years old, but I had never had a girlfriend. I understood her anxiety, but I didn't expect her to do something so cruel. She arranged for herself to have a terminal illness. I hesitated for a long time, then finally decided to play along with her. I knew it was a bit dishonest, but I wanted to make it up to her for the rest of my life. When you give your all and do your best, but the other person doesn't know how to cherish it, love can also be taken for granted. But I forgot that feelings built on lies don't last long. After all,